Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, take on a super fun and exciting episode for you guys today because Hamster gave us an Arcade Archives early Christmas gift because as of today, the Outfoxies is available for Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. And when I say this is one of the best hidden gem arcade games ever made that basically nobody knows about, I 100% mean it. Since I've had a channel, I've told anyone who will listen that you have to play the Outfoxies. If you even so much as remotely like Smash Brothers, this one is definitely going to be right up your alley because honestly, it feels like it directly inspired what Smash Brothers would become on the N64. And having this thing finally brought home so more people can enjoy it and play it, and maybe discover it for the first time absolutely is one of my favorite things to happen in 2025. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, the Outfoxies is a game that if you turn it on the next game night or over the holidays and you play with friends, you're absolutely going to just be screaming with laughter and yelling at each other in all of the best ways. All of this is a 1 versus 1 fighting game like any other fighting game out there, but it plays more like an action platformer. There's going to be a ton of different power-ups and weapons to pick up in a screen, and you have to intelligently use those because hitting your opponent does nothing more than knock the weapon out of their hand. And you do not want to try to use hand-to-hand combat in the Outfoxies to get any of the actual life bar off your opponent because you will sit there and hit them time and time again and basically see the life bar move nowhere. Or if you get something like this rocket launcher here and start unloading on your opponent, 3 well-placed shots can basically take 75% plus of the life bar off. But do be aware that there is splash damage in this game. You can hurt yourself even worse if you're not paying attention to where you are shooting. But any game where you get to fight a monkey in a top hat with a banana named Dweeb has to be a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. But the Outfoxies is just one of those special games. The first time I played it, I don't even know, maybe 15-20 years ago, I absolutely fell in love with it. And if you actually want a real arcade board, we're talking more than my actual mortgage payment for trying to pick one up. So the fact that it's going to be available on Arcade Archives for under $10 means you're going to save a metric ton of money, because I'm pretty sure nobody watching this right now has a $10 mortgage, and if you do, please tell me your secrets. And just so you know, this ran on the Namco NB2 hardware, which is basically a Motorola 68020 with a bunch of custom Namco video chips, because Namco was one of those manufacturers and developers that loved making their own silicon for their hardware. And this thing absolutely, if you can't tell already, has a ton of great scaling and rotation techniques. This was way advanced at its time, and unfortunately it absolutely failed in arcades. People just didn't understand what the game was asking of them, and this was one that basically fell into complete obscurity. And I'm honestly surprised it took this long for Hamster to get this over to the Arcade Archives, because this is one of the games that I would have absolutely led with, even though a lot of people just don't realize what it is. But this is just the perfect party game. If you like Smash Brothers, if you like anything else, the Outfoxies is going to give you a ton of fun. Because at least for me here, I am playing against the CPU, and by stage 3, even on easy mode, the CPU is going to be absolutely murderous. Pun very much intended for a game where you play as an assassin, and they're just going to absolutely clean the floor with you. You're going to have to put continue after continue in, but of course in this instance not using real quarters if you ever want to see the end of this game. It is fun to learn, it is fun to master, but it definitely comes alive when you're actually playing against a real human opponent, just like basically any other fighting game out there. I think it's just down to the sheer amount of weapons you have in the game as well. You're going to have handguns, you're going to have machine guns, rocket launchers, grenades, swords. In some stages you're going to be able to throw pies or different bowls of fruit, even stuff like hot soup in your opponent's face. It basically plays like a James Bond game and also an Austin Powers game at the same time, because it both has that James Bond feel as well as kind of the slapstick nature of Austin Powers. But of course only one of those franchises absolutely existed when this game came out, and then it's going to be James Bond. But I love the spy theme here, and I love just how big the levels are. We will talk a little bit more about the overall level structure and how it plays after the soundtrack break, but trust me when I say these levels are complex. They've got a ton of secrets in them, and circumnavigating the level and understanding how to get to your opponent in the first place is definitely one of the more interesting and fun things you're going to do in Outfoxies. But this also has, in my opinion, one of the best soundtracks Namco ever put to a video game, and I honestly think Namco always made great soundtracks. That is a high praise. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds and I'll be right back.
Kill your enemy by any means. Gun. Rocket launcher. Rocket launcher. Rocket launcher. Gun. Gun. gun, 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 machine gun, gun, machine gun, gun.
I mean, it's just a straight up amazing spy style James Bond jazz soundtrack in all of the best ways, and it 100% works in the context of what you're doing in the Outfoxies. And trust me, I'll have the second soundtrack sample because, again, the music is that incredible. And you just saw Betty Doe there swim through those sharks. If you spend too much time in that tank, the sharks will absolutely eat you and put damage into you. There's so many different environmental attacks you can do in the Outfoxies, and using the environment to your advantage absolutely can win you some matches very quickly. Because the reality situation is here, the gameplay is amazing, but it really is the levels, the structure, and how they play out in the actual action experience that makes the Outfoxies feel like such a special game, and in my opinion, even better than the original Smash Brothers. Because that wheel there just absolutely released from the ceiling, and if you were underneath it, it would have done some crush damage to you, but now it's going to start floating on the water that's actually going to be coming up in the level, because the shark tank has burst, and now the sharks are basically going to be able to freely swim around everywhere. So part of the level that you were just in is not going to be closed off to you unless you want to take a risk and actually go down there and try to outswim the sharks to be able to move around. There is so much strategy in how this game plays out, and I think that is what really is so good about the Outfoxies. Every single match is going to feel completely different. Some matches are going to take 30 seconds or less, other matches are going to take 2 to 3 minutes. It just depends on how you're playing the game, what weapons you get, and what weapons your opponent gets. Because if your opponent has something like a flamethrower or a rocket launcher, you no longer want to go near them, you want to get the ever-loving hell away from them. That kind of is the fun here. You just need to be careful because Betty Doe is going to frag herself here on her own grenades, and I'm going to win the match just because she wasn't paying attention. And that kind of is the entire trick of something like the Outfoxies, knowing when to go on the offense and knowing when to go on defense and make yourself extremely scarce. Or a level like here with Eve, you're in a circus and you have all sorts of different trapeze artists flying around. You have trampolines, you have weapons, and you're going to see on the right hand side of the screen you have a cannon that will actually shoot clowns out into the stage. You can use the clown cannon to try to defeat your opponent, and trust me, it is one of the funniest ways to win a match in the Outfoxies. There is just so much chaos on screen at any given time, so much detail and so much fun. I mean, take a look at the background there with all of the different circus audience members. They're all cheering, they're all animated. This game still keeps a solid 60 frames per second, just showing how good the Namco NB2 hardware was. And now that I got myself finally into that clown cannon seat, I'm going to be able to actually kill Eve here by a well-timed clown shot, and that is not something you can say about every single video game out there. As we move into the next level with Danny and Demi here, you can see that this boat is rotating in real time, showing off the hardware style of the Namco NB2 and just how powerful it was at both rotation and scaling. And this is a very small level, so you need to be very careful. Sure, you can pick up a rocket launcher, but you're as apt to damage yourself as you are your opponents, so this is going to have a completely different gameplay style than the rest of the levels you've been in, and I really love how the Outfoxies mixes it up to kind of give you different looks at the same concept. But one more soundtrack simple because I love the music in this game. 45 seconds and I'll be right back to tell you just a little bit more about it.
Flamethrower. Hot shoot. Use that. Gun. Hot shoot. Gun. 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 Pick 1. Kill your enemy by any means.
I mean, again, just straight up an amazing soundtrack in the Outfoxies, and in my opinion at least, this is one of the best arcade games ever made that basically never succeeded and basically no one actually knows about. So leave me a comment down below and you tell me, did you know the Outfoxies existed? And if so, how did you find out about it and have you played it? Because trust me, getting a port of this over to modern consoles is a straight up Christmas gift for sure. The only other thing I could wish for more, and I know it's not happening, is a physical release of the Outfoxies so I can put it on my shelf. Because trust me, this board is so expensive, even though I love love the game. It emulates perfectly fine, obviously. It's on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 now, that I'm not going to spend the thousands of dollars just to have the JAMA PCB in my collection, because there's many different ways to play the game. But this is just straight up amazing. You gotta love new Nintendo Switch 2 games, especially at Christmas, especially one. They are retro arcade games called the Outfoxies. This is the type of thing that always makes me happy, and I am actually surprised that this thing took as long to get to the arcade archives as it did, but it's here, and I definitely can't recommend it enough. Bye-bye.